If you were to ask a handful of people to describe Christians, you'd probably get a handful of answers. But I doubt any of them would say that Christians are enemies of God. But James says something like that. Can a Christian be an enemy of God? Well, you probably know I go through the Bible and put out short videos each week, and I'm going through the book of James right now. So if you're new to that and you want to catch up, click this tag in the upper right, and then to make sure you don't miss any more, click the subscribe button, and then be sure and click that bell icon in the lower right. I've also said recently here and there in these videos, sharing is caring. It makes a huge difference if you share this video. I mean, to like it, to comment on it, those are great. Sharing is the ultimate in the social media world. It tells the social media outlets, yes, this video must be decent. Someone shared it. And so if you click that button underneath, it'll bring up a host of different social media icons. Click the ones that you have. There's a big F for Facebook. You click on that. It'll bring up a screen. You can put a comment, check this out. Check out this video, and then click post to Facebook. It's that simple, and it helps a lot. Well, the context for today's verse is what we saw in the last few verses at the beginning of James chapter 4, verse 1, where he says, "The cause of quarrels among you, among Christians, is selfishness." He didn't use that word, but everything he described was me putting myself before God, before others. Well, James goes further as he talks about what that really is. He says in James chapter 4, verse 4, "You adulteresses." Well, that's pretty serious. Adultery? That's being unfaithful to your spouse. So what's he mean as he says this to Christians? Keep that in mind all the time. Well, it's interesting. The New American Standard brings it out specifically. It is the feminine form of that word, adulteresses. Well, we should get this. Jesus, Christ, is the groom, and we, the church, are his bride. And so if we're being unfaithful, we are as a bride an adulteress. And so that's what he's saying. We're being unfaithful to that commitment we live to put Christ first, to surrender to rely on him some way in what he said, last time. And as he goes on to say here, we're being unfaithful to that. How specifically? He says, "Do you not know that friendship with the world is hostility toward God? Therefore, whoever wishes to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God." Well, that's serious, to be an enemy of God. Let's make sure we know what this means. What's it mean when he talks about the world? Well, first of all, what doesn't it mean? It doesn't mean people in the world, worldly people. It doesn't mean non-Christians. We are to be friends. We're to go into all the world, and that's not just go and walk and, hey, keep your distance. That's to be a part of the world, in the world, but not of the world. To make an impact, to have a witness for God in the world, not to be impacted by it. And so it's certainly not talking about being friendly with people in the world, non-Christians. It's not even saying, to like or enjoy things in the world. I made reference to it. I forgot to give the reference, the verse. 1 Timothy 6:17, God richly provides us with all things to enjoy. It's okay to enjoy, okay, there went my voice. It's okay to enjoy the things in the world. Again, as long as we keep them in perspective, and we saw that last time, you see it all throughout. So what does it mean? What's the Bible mean when it talks about the world in this negative sense? It's a system that's the opposite of God, that's even opposed to God. It's everything about that. It's the values of the world that are totally different from God's. A perspective that views things differently, a different purpose in life. It's a whole different focus. I'm going through the book of Mark on Sunday mornings in my sermon series, and if you want to catch up on those, you probably haven't started, but if you want to check those out, I'll put another link up here. And the reason I share that is because in Mark, the whole theme of the book is, where is our focus? Is it on the physical or the spiritual? And what's interesting, not just on physical things versus spiritual things, but theirs as Jews, they were on spiritual things, the Messiah, his kingdom, but in a physical way, in a worldly way. And one thing we've seen is these are like columns, physical and spiritual, and underneath them are, if it's physical, then it's on me versus God. It's on now versus eternity, earth versus heaven. It's on works versus grace. It's on man-made traditions versus God's laws and his principles. And certainly a key one, it's on pride versus humility. And so that's what the world is. It's everything that is opposed to God. And so as it talks about here, if I value, well, what's it say here? It says to be a friend or to have this friendship with the world. What's that mean? Well, think about your earthly friends. Why are they your friends? Because you have some unity in your thoughts and in your purpose. You don't agree on everything. You don't always want to do the exact same thing. But in general, you do. That's why you are friends with them. Well, this is saying that I'm in step with the world. I want what the world wants. I value what the world values. And that's why it's an either or, in the sense of you can't walk both directions at once. You're either walking toward God or toward the world. Which is it? James says, if you're a friend of the world, you're an enemy of God. Now, we raise this question, okay, can a Christian, someone who has a commitment to God, be an enemy of God? Well, certainly not in the absolute sense. I'm either committed to God or I'm not. I've made that commitment. But we certainly know that we struggle at times to live out that commitment. We'll never be perfect. And so instead of thinking of it as an all or nothing, think of it as like a scale. As a friend of God, or I guess I've been putting God on this hand, as a friend of God or a friend of the world, which is an enemy of God, where am I on that scale? What are ways that I'm more a friend with God? What are ways that I'm less a friend, more a friend of the world? And once I recognize those, realize, again, that is causing me distance from God. So what do I need to do to change that? And a key answer at the bottom of all that, whenever we're asking, what do I need to do to recognize what needs to change and to make the change? Be sure and read the good book, like a good book.